Hello, everybody. It is the Roto Hackers. We are your unauthorized source of fantasy football information and entertainment and whatever you want.
Maybe not whatever you want.
Pertaining to
fantasy football. Yeah, we got to set parameters.
It's not that kind of show. And so anyways, we're here.
Could be for the right price.
So we are here to discuss some of the news, the fantasy football news, NFL news, and look at the waiver wire. I think this could be a crucial week for the waiver wire. Yeah. I'm going to try to talk gently. I whenever I listen to our podcast, I'll go back and look at the points and see what points I was right about. I will.
That must be quick to go through those.
You're mean, but usually.
No, you had some good ones last week.
That's true, but that doesn't happen often. Well, anyways, I blow my ears. I blow my own ears out, and it's bad when I use I statements. I blow my own ears out. So. Tonight, we want to talk about some trades. Man, the NFL's been rife with trades.
There's a lot of news. There's a lot of injuries, trades, all these different things.
Well, the first one I want to get to is the first one. So Pat Mayo talked about it actually a couple of days ago. He said that there was news that Manny...
Emmanuel Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders was looking to be or they were looking to trade Emmanuel Sanders, and that the 49ers wanted him. And I thought that's fake news. There's no way that the 49ers, they got 1 million wide receivers. Why would they? But they wanted him. They wanted him today, and before. Was that. Yeah, they wanted him today. They wanted him to be able to play by today. I mean, by this weekend. They want to get him ready and stuff like that.
It's a big game against Carolina.
Yeah. So what do you think the fantasy implications are here with Emmanuel Sanders going to the 49ers and leaving the Broncos?
I mean, I think he's on like maybe 25% of my waiver wires. I don't know what the overall thing is, but I think you're going to have a lot of people that, jump on him thinking he's going to be the number one receiver. But, I don't know. It's hard for me to, I think the way I saw someone put it was, just like, it's probably just a lateral move. If that, I mean, yeah, he's going to go be the number one receiver, but you've got to adjust to a system, and San Francisco just doesn't throw that much. Jimmy Garoppolo is not doing that well. Kyle Shanahan's running system's working really well with Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida. When they do throw, they throw to Kittle a lot. I guess the upside is, you're talking about they have a lot of receivers, but they don't have a lot of good receivers. They've tried a few different guys that just really haven't developed into a number one guy. So it's hard for me to really see him being like, making a real impact unless you've got sort of unless you're in a deeper league.
Well, I guess for me, the question is less about the 49ers, and I have more questions about the Broncos. One, are they tanking? Should they tank? Two, what does this mean for Sutton and the other wide receivers that are left behind? We're talking about a decent, some of these up and coming young wide receivers.
Deshaun Hamilton,
Deshaun Hamilton, and Patrick's coming off of the IR pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
He was a decent player.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Broncos going forward?
I remember I was when it was like late in my season last year, may have even been like fantasy playoffs, and I was like desperate at wide receiver on a team or two. And I remember like choosing from an assortment of wide receivers in the Raiders Broncos game where I was choosing from Jordy Nelson, Deshaun Hamilton, Cortland Sutton, and then is it Tim Patrick, or I don't remember his first name, but yeah. So I had to pick from all of those, and you know, I think I ended up picking Jordy, and that ended up being a good pick. But anyway, I don't know that I have a ton of faith in any of those other Broncos receivers. I mean, Cortland Sutton's I don't know why I want to say Sutland. Cortland
Sutherland.
Well, it's the L. I'm pulling the L from Cortland.
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton. You know, I was in on him pretty early in the season because I saw he was putting up good numbers. He just wasn't getting touchdowns, and so I knew he was probably going to get like touchdown positive regression.
Nice.
You know, at some point he was bound to get him. So I was in on him, but you know, the thing that even kind of scares me about him is that the Broncos they're going to go to Drew Lock at some point to see what they've got there at Drew Lock. They drafted him, you know, second round, I think. I don't think he was a late first. I think he was a second round guy.
I've never heard of him.
Drew Lock. I think he came out of Missouri. We can double check all this, but yeah, so they drafted him. He's been on IR, and so he's going to be eligible, I guess, after week 8. So, you know, they're going to have a top pick in the draft again. So I'm sure they want to see what they've got in Drew Lock. But, you know, odds are they're if they're at the top of the draft, they're probably going to take one of those elite quarterbacks. It's almost kind of like, you know, I think the Panthers drafted Jimmy Clausen the year before they took Cam. You know, just certain. I mean, you know, even more. You know, even more recently, you know, we had, you know, Josh Rosen taken 10th. Was it 10th, 12th, maybe 12th? And
no, it was 10th.
Was it? Okay,
I think so.
And then you know, the Cardinals came right back and took Murray. So odds are the Broncos are going to take somebody, but you know, I got to believe they want to at least take a chance and see what they've got in Lock. And you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that Sutton's value is going to tank, but you know, even as bad as Flacco's been, Sutton's been, you know, he's been getting the ball to Sutton. He's been really reliable. So that's the guy that I worry about. The other Broncos receivers, like even Manny Sanders, you know, he was boom or bust. You know, he had a couple of big games and then just nothing. So yeah, if you're scraping for like that Broncos number 3 receiver, then you're either in a deep league or you're hurting.
Yeah. I heard somebody describe, I think it was Sigmund Bloom, describe Fant, their tight end, as basically drafting another Sutton, you know, from last year, in that he's big, athletic, but he just really rough around the edges when he was drafted. I feel like this year he's really taken that step forward. And as far as his route running and his hands catching the ball, he's actually catching it now instead of banging it off his chest or whatever. So yeah, I drafted him, not drafted him. I picked him up off the waiver wire in several leagues, hoping that that he would be that strong number 2. Now he's going to be the number 1. I'm worried that he can't handle the pressure of being the number 1 wide receiver, in the sense that he will have all the he'll have the number 1 DB shadowing him in a lot of cases, and he'll have all the defense scheming towards, I mean, you shut him down, and you know, you basically just have to contend with, you know, the running back situation. And I'm not really convinced that their offensive line is very good. This could be, I mean, it's almost tank area for them right now. And like you said, having a great shot at one of these awesome QBs coming into the league next year.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's kind of a mix for Sutton, you know, like but I don't know, I guess maybe a lot of these guys have similar schedules this year, where it seems like a lot of players just have a stretch that's just brutal. There's guys that I'm trying to get rid of because I just see these brutal stretches coming up, and I'm like, man, I don't know that I can really weather that. If my team is 4-3, or especially 3-4 or something, then I need to go for a guy with a better schedule. But so just looking at Sutton here, he's got Indy at Indy, which Indy's a pretty good real life defense, but he could maybe put up some points there. He's got Cleveland, who you never know really what you're going to get week to week with Cleveland. And then he's got a stretch of Minnesota, Buffalo, and the Chargers, which all have, good top cornerbacks, with
if they're healthy. Yeah.
If they're healthy. But
I mean, Vikings have not been that great. I mean, we talk about about road shutting people down, and he really hasn't for the most part. He's been a pain in the butt, but he's not his old like shut down self. I mean, he was basically targeted by the Lions, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't watch that game, or I haven't had an opportunity to go back and see like who Marvin Jones got his 4 touchdowns on.
It was Rhodes.
Was mostly, it? Okay.
Yeah.
And then oddly enough, like Kenny Golladay did nothing. He had 1 catch, I think, on 2 targets for 21 yards or something like that. So that was a pain. I mean, it's hard to know. There's a lot of, just the more variables there, the scarier the situation gets. So, like Sutton's losing his, the guy who's, maybe more the true number 1 receiver on the team, and Sanders, he might be getting a rookie quarterback, and so like you start multiplying like all these variables, and it starts to become pretty unstable. So,
right. Well, the other big trade that happened this morning woke up to the news that Sanu had been traded to the Patriots. And both you and I it seems like we had the same reaction. Sanu for a 2nd round pick?
Right.
Like, remember at the beginning of this season, you were like, Sanu's like retired.
I thought they had cut him because of salary. So I didn't think I thought he had gone to another team. And he was still in Atlanta, not doing very much in Atlanta because he's behind Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and Austin Hooper. So, and really with Freeman too. So, I mean, he was basically like about the 5th option in Atlanta, maybe. Yeah. So man, what a great deal for them to get a 2nd round pick. I don't know that they'll actually do anything with it. But that was bizarre that the Patriots gave up a 2nd round pick for him. I mean, he's good, but you think about, I mean, he's a pretty good player. I mean, solid player. I mean, I guess I think of him as a solid player, but so I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see, because if the Patriots were willing to give up that much, it tells me that either like the asking prices for other receivers were just astronomically high, or they've just got like specific plans in mind for him. Maybe they've got like a bunch of gadget plays where, he throws the ball at quarterback. I don't know.
I mean, historically, he's done great as throwing the ball. He is good at those gadget plays.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, Brady he's not looking bad, but it's not like he's blowing the doors off of defenses, and he's not getting any younger.
No,
he doesn't look any older. I'm jealous.
Adam Schefter had this tweet from, I think it was from Monday Night Football, or I think maybe it was somebody else tweeting Adam Schefter from being on the set of Monday Night Football, where he was talking about how, Brady's selling his house, his personal trainer, which I mean, I already knew that, but apparently Adam Schefter added in that like his personal trainer, who, I think they have that business together, and, his personal trainer is like always there at the games and everything, that he's selling his house too. Wow. And so Adam Schefter, it's on, I don't know. I don't know I don't remember who tweeted it, but it was just a clip from him talking about it on Monday Night Football, and basically implying that like, Brady's going to be gone from New England after this year. So.
Wow. That's a surprise to me.
Well, I mean, it may, turn out to be complete BS, but
Right.
but it was just funny to see him like kind of going out on a limb, implying that. So,
well, that's interesting. We got a bunch of questions in the chat. We're going to get to those
nice.
towards the end. Hang on, guys. We're going to have a little discussion here, and then we'll get to the questions. Ryan, hey, Ryan, and Thomas H. joining us. Thomas H. saying some nice things about Judah Buddha. Anyway, so yeah, we'll get to those real quick, though. Some more stuff. Anything in the news that caught your attention before we talk about the waiver wire?
Well, I mean, just kind of tied to that is just, Kerryon Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Kerryon Johnson basically is out for the season. I guess technically he can return in week 16.
Doesn't help us.
And not really. I mean, he would be around for the fantasy championship if you want to roster him and take the gamble that he comes back for that game. If you make it, I'm not bothering to do that. So, yeah.
That and David Johnson. I guess the Arizona picked up Alfred Morris. So David Johnson's ankle and back or whatever is probably not as it's probably worse than it seemed at first.
Yeah. Well, and it was a whole messy situation Sunday because the Cardinals said, "Oh yeah, he's active. He's going to play." And then, well, I mean, technically he was, but he had like a carry or two.
Yeah.
And then, it was just the Chase Edmonds show. And then, so I started him in one league. I started David Johnson. I only have him in one league. So I started him there and I thought, this is going to kill me. But then I got like nearly 30 points out of Darren Waller. And,
nice.
So I ended up still winning, but, yeah, I think it kind of puts Edmonds in an interesting spot because he's out there on maybe half my waiver wires because just as soon as they said Johnson's going to play, I think people just dropped him.
Yeah, I had him in almost all my leagues and dropped him that I think it was like Friday they said or Saturday, and I just dropped him thinking meh. Although I did keep him in several leagues thinking because I heard there was a couple of guys, your boy Jake Seeley. He likes Chase Edmonds quite a bit.
Yeah, he's done well with his carries. I mean, he's basically done better than David Johnson, so.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go back and look at his carries, it wasn't a lot of his maneuvering that got him through that line. He had huge gaps. I mean, part of it probably was they just didn't expect him to be there. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that happens in scheming, but I don't know. It could be looking for a certain number. They could be looking for a certain size. He's like half a David Johnson size.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting sort of little wrinkle going forward. And then you got some interesting quarterback situations too, where Mahomes is down. We talked about that already. In terms of how it affected the Chiefs and stuff. But, we can kind of, I guess, tie that into the waiver wire of who to maybe pick up. And then you've also got on top of that, Matt Ryan twisting his ankle. Don't know if he's going to be available for this week's game. And then I guess maybe last but not least, Sam Darnold was, a lot of people have been hyping up Darnold as saying, hey, look, after this week, he got a cakewalk schedule, the rest of the season. But after the way he got rattled against the Patriots, I don't know how he's going to, is it just going to shake him going forward?
Well, that brings us to the waiver wire. I think that's a good transition as we talk about because these are most of the guys that are going to be on the top. If you had a top 5 to pick up tonight, let's just start with who would be your honorable mentions. Let's say. And I'll start while you look. Some of my honorable mentions would be Hawkinson. If Hawkinson is out on your waiver wire still, the guy, we talk about positive regression. The guy has had so many balls thrown at him that he's dropped or, just got the defense is knocked away. That positive regression would and I'm going to say positive regression as much as I can. By the way, Caleb's chiming in on text, talking some smack about how we shouldn't be using the term positive regression.
I used it sort of sarcastically.
I'm not. I know you are, but so he's working on a paper now. Wishes he could be here. Just start working on your paper. Stop commenting. You're saying I didn't have any good calls last week. Well, we'll talk about that. But anyways, yeah, I think Hawkinson, if he starts catching some of that, and some of the defensive switches that we didn't talk about, the Lions are down quite a few defensive. They're down their center, I think, and they're down defensive linemen, and they traded a guy.
They traded a safety.
A safety. So they might not, they're not going to be in these defensive slog out games. Right. They're going to have to chuck the ball. I noticed that you picked up Stafford. I think that's a savvy move there.
Yeah, I picked him up basically a week early because I had him. Well, which actually I should have played him last week and just didn't know it because he had like 29 points against the Vikings, which, I mean, nobody was calling that,
Right.
But I picked him up for two reasons. One, because he has the Giants this week, who everybody can throw on, and then in week 15. But I actually want to keep him long term because in week 15 he gets the Bucks at home. So that could be, on paper, that's another shootout, so, so I went ahead, I preemptively picked him up. I actually made 2 preemptive pickups for this week, like a week or 2 ago. My other one was the Pittsburgh defense, because they get the Dolphins. So, so I made those pretty early there. Those are pretty well gone. I think Pittsburgh's gone off pretty much every waiver wire.
No, I think they're only 40%.
Really?
Or no, 60% owned. So 40% unowned in leagues. So I actually found them in 15 leagues. I found them in 4. Because in Yahoo you can pick them up. You can pick them up on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You can pick them up.
Yeah,
as long as you drop somebody who hasn't played yet, and as long as because they were on bye.
Yeah.
So Monday, even though of course waivers were closed, I went through and I just looked for Pittsburgh everywhere.
Yeah, that's it. And they've been and that's another, for me, that's another like season long stash in some leagues because they get the Dolphins this week. Yeah, you're right. They're only 51% owned, which is crazy. They're going to be 100% owned after waivers because everybody's going to pick them up to play the Dolphins.
Yeah.
But they get the Dolphins this week, and then there again in week 15 they get they host Buffalo, and Buffalo is a much better team now, but Josh Allen is I still don't entirely trust him to not turn the ball over against a really good defense. And Pittsburgh, after the first 2 weeks, they had, of course, 0 points against New England. And then week 2 was solid, 7 points against Seattle. And then they've been double digits ever since then, 11 points, 19 points, 11 points, 14 points. So I think they're a good, if you don't have a Patriots, or maybe if you do have the Patriots too, they're a good, other option.
Yeah. Did you have any other honorable mentions?
Yeah, I think and those guys, if they're available, they wouldn't even be my honorable mentions. They would be like near the top of the list, but I just didn't, I figured most of them would be gone. I think my honorable mentions would probably be Dolphins receivers. At least maybe Devontae Parker, as long as I'm going to be recommending some receivers that I had sworn off for life. But Devontae Parker, over the last 3 weeks, he's got almost 40 fantasy points in half point PPR. He's got like 39.3 3. He's got, well, and now he's still not seeing a ton of targets. He had 10 against Buffalo, but in the 2 games prior to that, he just had 4 each, and he caught, 3 balls and 4 balls and a touchdown in each game. But the Dolphins have to throw to somebody, and even as bad as they are, they may get a score, and it's probably not going to be on the ground. So Devontae Parker's a pretty good option in a deeper league.
Well, I agree. If you're, of course, this week is a little tricky for waivers. You got 2 high-powered offensive. We should mention we got 4 teams. I should have looked this. I should effort this up. Let's see, NFL.
You looking for bye weeks?
Yeah. So we got the Baltimore Ravens, the Atlanta Falcons. No, the Baltimore Ravens and the Dallas Cowboys. Sorry.
Yeah.
Baltimore. So only 2 teams, but they're pretty high-powered teams. A lot of players coming out.
Yeah. A lot of my guys.
So mostly quarterbacks and running backs.
Yeah. Although you got those Cowboys receivers too.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Amari Cooper and Gallup. So
you might want to be plugging in some Devontae. But if you need a running back, and you missed waivers or something, I'm still on that Rojo, and Ronald Jones is still out there in quite a few leagues. I think he's only owned in I guess he's owned in 40% of leagues, but so he's still out there in quite a few leagues. I would pick him up, and you could definitely play him. He's kind of like Devontae Parker in the sense, although he won't probably get as many snaps as Devontae Parker. I just trust that he's in a high-powered offense. Granted, with a lot of mistakes and sloppy play, but there's just going to be a lot of points scored in that game. And let's see, so Tampa Bay is going to be playing Tennessee. Tennessee has average run defense. I don't know. It's an honorable mention.
It's maybe about 50-50 whether or not the Bucs have a good running, game, or whether they can even afford to run the ball, or if they just fall behind too far. Yeah. And then about 33% chance within that 50-50 that he's going to be the one to get the touchdown over Peyton Barber or their 3rd string back. So what's that, about a 16% chance that Ronald Jones is going to give you a good game?
And yet he'll probably do better than Devontae Parker.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, especially this week. Yeah. And actually, like I wouldn't really recommend Devontae Parker, like maybe like a little more long-term, but against the Steelers, like the Steelers secondary, they traded for the Dolphins guy, Minkah Fitzpatrick. So that's really kind of the strength of that Steelers team.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, somebody who's not within the criteria. I usually like them to be under or over 40% owned, but Auden Tate, he's close. He's 37, so he's 37% owned. So there's still about 60% of the leagues out there don't have him rostered. I think I don't know when or if Green is coming back, and he's pretty established as somebody who's getting a lot of targets. I mean, when I say a lot, he's getting a good percentage of the targets on the team, and not doing terrible with them. He's dropping some passes, but I mean, compared to some of these other guys who would be in my honorable mention, like Ted Ginn or Danny Amendola, I don't know. I just think he's seen a lot more action, and who knows? I'm just talking about for this week. If you really need a wide receiver, this is, again, my honorable mention. It's not my top 5. Go out and get him. Spend all your fab on.
Yeah. I think as a 1-week plug-in, he's probably fine. The coach wouldn't rule out AJ Green for this week. I don't think there's any way that AJ Green plays this week before the bye. So I figured they give him 2 more weeks, and then assuming he doesn't get traded, is back after that. So Tate's probably probably just a 1 week sort of fill in. Yeah.
Okay. Top 5. So my top 5 real quick. I am going with Kenny Stills would be my 5th. I think Kenny Stills now with Fuller out for this probably for a while, maybe a month, maybe less, but I think he's going to be out for a while. Kenny Stills, I think he's got a lot of skill, and it got the ability to stretch the field. Just not maybe not as fast as somebody like Fuller, but I think he probably has better hand. I don't know. Maybe it's just a misnomer or a cliche that Fuller has, bad hands, but Kenny Stills can catch. He's been catching the long ball for a while now, and he's good at it. I think he can fill in that gap pretty well. He could get you 10 to 12 points if so. He would be. I would spend in a $100 budget, fab budget. I would go ahead and spend like $10 on him, especially if you need a wide receiver. Who's your number 5?
I think my number 5 is going to be a guy that I said was only a 1 week thing a couple of weeks ago. But I'm going to go back to him again for this one. And that's if you're a Mahomes owner or you're a Matt Ryan owner, if he doesn't play, or you're on a bye with Dak or Lamar Jackson, I'm going to recommend Kirk Cousins again. I don't feel as good about him this week as I did a couple weeks ago against Philadelphia, where I was just sure he was going to, blow up because their secondary is so bad and their running defense is good. But he did well against Minnesota last week too. So he's now had 3 straight games of
he's had four decent games, over 20.
Yeah. Well, he's had 3 over 20. The last 3 he's had 300 plus yards in every game and multiple touchdowns, and each of the past 2 games he's had 4 touchdowns in each game. So he had 20 points, a little over 20 points against the Giants, 28 against the Eagles, and 29 against the Lions. And Washington's bad. He's got him at home. And I feel like, this is the team that he played for forever. And so, I think they're going to let him
little revenge game, actually.
Have a little bit of a revenge game. Yeah. Not so much that it would jeopardize the outcome or anything, but does Washington really scare you? So I think he's still a good option there. Yeah. The danger is that Washington is so bad, you could just run Dalvin Cook every time and win the game. But again, because it's Cousins' former team, I feel like, and he's been playing well, I feel like they'll let him throw some.
Yeah, you're right. I was thinking his last 4 games, last 3 games. Well, my only criticism is not my only fear, I'll say, is that,
Thielen.
Well, Thielen actually might not be out. He's saying he's feeling great, but I'd be worried. He does, and this is maybe just a crutch argument type thing, but he never does well in prime time, and he's going to be he's going to be on TV, under the limelight. Cousins is a guy who tends to crumble under pressure. So I don't know that we can all do better in our lives, and I'm not opposed to him, taking on the mantle and actually doing well. I just worry that, when we talk about regression, he's caught up with the mean, and maybe a little over the mean, and the regression might be the other way. I don't know.
I agree. Which is, like I said, I put him at 5.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So yeah,
that's good. I was thinking of him too. That's a good choice. Okay, so we're going too long here. Let's get to the let's just do top three now.
Okay.
Top three.
Well, we can even mention the fourth.
Yeah, okay.
We just don't have to, you know, that'd be random to like just skip one. We're going too long. Top five here. Okay, we're gonna skip number 4.
You're right. we're gonna go to number 7. Can we do that? So my number 4 was Jameis Winston. Kind of goes with my Rojo take. I think they're gonna come out of the bye swinging. And Jameis can get you a sweet little 3 interceptions, but unlike someone like Sam Darnold, he's going to actually get touchdowns because he's got amazing receivers, and that includes his tight ends. He's going a lot to Brait, and I feel like Brait could actually be a good pickup. Or at least someone to keep an eye on as an honorable mention. But back to Winston, I think Winston's going to be slinging it. I think they typically do well coming out of a bye. And when I say they, I'm talking about Arians. You know, Coach Arians does a good job scheming. And when he has a little bit of time to scheme, does well. Okay. And who are they playing? They're playing Tennessee. Stout defense, but Tennessee can be so random, you know? Like I feel like they could easily get blown out on Sunday. So who's your 4? I guess we were just going to mention them, but
yeah, well, that's fine. Yeah. So I would probably I think I've really kind of already talked about 1 or 2 of them. I may kind of shorten mine a little bit because I kind of already talked about Pittsburgh's defense, but I mean, if they're out there, obviously, I mean, the Dolphins at home, if you don't have the Patriots who are hosting the Browns, and, you know, who knows, Baker Mayfield might make Sam Darnold's game look like a solid performance. You know, we'll see. But if you don't have if you've got a chance to get the Pittsburgh defense, I would say go get it.
Mm. Okay, my number 3 would be Ebron. Not much to say. He's just getting back. He's getting targets again, and there's some questions or some statements in the comments about Brissett. I think Brissett. I think Brissett's starting a little role here. I think he's getting hot. He's getting on a heater, and I think a big part of that, or at least someone who will be a part of that, was going to be Ebron. He used to be somebody who would drop balls at times, but yeah, I think he's really getting in the rhythm of that offense, and that offense is really starting to click.
Yeah. So 3, I will go with, again, a player that I swore off forever. I'll go with him and his teammate too as possible options. As long as Ryan Tannehill is starting, and that's Corey Davis and even Hollywood Brown.
Corey Davis and Hollywood Brown, a twofer.
They're one. They're 3A and 3B. So I mean, like, Tennessee has talented receivers. They have talented receivers, but they have not had a quarterback who could throw them the ball. And when they got Tannehill, I thought that they would just start him from the beginning, because I mean, he's not good, but he can.
But at least he's not terrible.
But at least he's not Marcus Mariota. Yeah, I mean, he can get the ball to them, you know, and so. It's kind of like, I saw someone like, I think it was a Bears reporter tweeting about how they would at least take Trubisky over Darnold. And I'm like, no, this is the wrong take. Like, Trubisky can't ever complete passes. Darnold had a really bad night. He looked like, but he's 22 years old and he's going up against a defense off to a historic start. And he was in prime time. I mean, he was just scared. But under normal circumstances, he can complete throws. Yeah, and
he's actually he usually completes really good throws. And in fact, a lot of the throws that let's say his throws weren't bad throws; they were just off target terribly, you know?
Right. Well, and he was scared. He was throwing off his back foot.
He was experiencing Halloween early and
he really
seeing
was.
ghosts.
He said he saw ghosts. Poor guy. He's gonna get tortured forever until he plays pretty well.
Yeah.
So I mean the Titans have good receivers, and so I don't really know why they kept sticking with, why get Tannehill but then still stick with Mariota. I mean, Corey Davis was, I think, the number 4 overall pick a few years back, and he would just have flashes where Mariota could get him the ball, but it just never stuck. So all of a sudden if I can get it to pull up here.
What were you trying to pull up?
I was just pulling up. Yeah. So Davis caught 6 of 7 balls for 80 yards and a touchdown against the Chargers, which, they have a pretty solid pass defense. So, I think he can be a guy that can get some points for you at wide receiver. He's got Tampa up next and then Carolina, then Kansas City. So he's got some matchups that, he can get some points on.
Yeah. I think you're right on. Tannehill is somebody who's getting the ball out more, and consistently, he's got a good rhythm about him. So that's going to help his wide receivers. Okay. So we have a few questions out here about this. We haven't done our top 2, but obviously
we'll come back to them. I don't know.
No, our top 2 are obvious, right? They're going to be Chase Edmonds and Ty Johnson, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those are the top 2. Why? Because they're going to get the majority of the touches in high running situations, more so Chase Edmonds. Now he's going to be playing the Saints, which is kind of, I mean, that's a tough matchup. He's not going to have the same holes he did this week or this last week.
Right.
It's going to be a tough slog. And the other guy, what's his name? Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson. Yeah. So not as bad of a matchup. And I saw somebody's comments saying that they thought Ty Johnson was just as good or better than Kerryon Johnson. I mean, they are brothers. Well, they're not brothers.
They're not brothers.
Same last name. But that, it was somebody who followed the Lions closely. Now I don't know about that. From what I saw, he looked like a schmo to me, but I don't know. Like, made me want to go back and look. What is your take on Ty Johnson and Chase Edmonds?
So it's hard to really. There are so many unknowns in that situation. Like, I've got the number 1 waiver priority in a couple of leagues, and I don't know how I'm going to use it tonight. I think actually, like, one of those teams is pretty stacked for me, so I think I'm not going to use it. But it's kind of hard to know because how much is Ty Johnson going to split with McKissick? Are the Lions going to maybe bring in somebody else, or they might maybe trade for somebody else? It seems like, you think that about the fact that they cut CJ Anderson early in the season. Yeah. And someone said at the time, I saw a couple of beat writers talking about how that was basically due to their confidence in Ty Johnson. Like, oh, well, okay. But you never know with teams. You never know. They might bring in, maybe Kenyon Drake is available if they want him. But with trading away that safety, like, what is the Lions' plan here? Are they?
That was my question. Are they tanking?
Right? I mean, they've got a solid record, So I don't know what they're doing there. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't really know with Ty Johnson what's going to happen there. And then with Edmonds, they basically already lied about David Johnson Sunday. Matthew Berry actually has a pretty funny rant on all of that. I don't know if you've seen that, but
I don't watch much of Matthew Berry. I used to.
he's got a funny rant on that. But anyway, Chase Edmonds, I don't know. Like, I mean, the tough thing for Chase Edmonds is the schedule, because I think within the next 4 games,
it's a real tough schedule.
It is. Within the next 4 games, I think he's got the Saints and
the 49ers
twice.
Oh,
yeah. So he's got Tampa mixed in there, but he's got Saints.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the Saints, the 49ers twice, and then a bye. So
now the 49ers, their elite defense is on the secondary. Their run defense isn't. It's good, but it's not elite as their.
Well, no, their pass defense is only doing well because of that front, just like you saw with the game against Cleveland, where they just mauled Baker Mayfield. He just had no time to throw. You're talking about
the pass rush is what's keeping them.
Yeah. They don't really have like elite corners or anything like that. So yeah. So. I mean, Adrian Peterson ran for some yards against him, but I think just the offense as a whole, it's hard for me to imagine, Edmonds getting a lot of touchdown opportunities or stuff like that. So, it's not like a clear situation where if, Dalvin Cook went down and Madison was out there, like no question, you grab Madison off the waiver wire, if Barkley went down again, no question, you grab Gallman off the waiver wire.
And Barkley did get hurt in that game this week. He limped off of the field, gave everybody a heart attack.
Yeah.
So definitely grab Wayne Gallman.
Yeah. So it's not one of those situations, but yeah, I mean, they're the top guys, but it's not like if you've got like the top waiver priority, it feels like, do I really want to use it on this guy? I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people talking about how good tonight is as far as waiver, and I'm looking at it thinking,
yeah. And the other thing too is like, next Tuesday's the trade deadline, and so you could have guys that move, that maybe you're on the waiver wire. Like if there's a running back that moves, maybe Kenyon Drake or something like that. And then, maybe you want to go after, or, maybe something great.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, maybe something crazy happens. Like maybe Melvin Gordon goes to the Bears, or, I don't know, which they really need a quarterback more than a running back. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, we won't talk about the Bears, get anybody triggered. But so that brings us to Ryan N saying, there are 3 guys on my waivers I'm interested in to some extent. Ty Johnson, Kenyon Drake. We already talked about Ty a little. We can talk about it a little bit more. But Kenyon Drake, Deshaun Jackson, D-Jax, if you will, and he can only drop 2. Rojo and AP. I would drop AP in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But Kenyon Drake is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely wouldn't pick up Deshaun Jackson. I have no interest in Deshaun Jackson. I don't think he's coming back for a while. I think he may have surgery.
Sure. I thought he was about ready to come back. Like they've been putting it off, like originally it was just like, oh yeah, he's going to be out a week or 2, and then.
No. So what are your thoughts? Mainly on Kenyon Drake here?
I mean, I think if you've got a bench spot that you could pick him up, I mean, really it's all, for me, Kenyon Drake's value is just all tied to, does he get traded? If he stays with the Dolphins the rest of the year, I have no interest in.
I mean, they're not even playing him, are they? Like,
no, he's basically now, I think, kind of behind Walton. Yeah. I've never really understood why the Dolphins don't like Kenyon Drake or don't want to use Kenyon Drake. I mean, it seems like the times I've seen him, he's been solid, if nothing else.
Yeah, it must be an off the field personality thing.
Maybe it is because they seem to want to try to play everyone over him. They wanted to try to play Damian Williams over him. They wanted to try to play what's
Balaj,
Kalen Balaj, yeah.
And he was terrible.
And he was terrible. And then now Walton,
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is, but I mean, to me, I mean, Drake has no value unless he gets traded. If he gets traded, then yeah, I mean, he could, he could be a late,
It would be a blockbuster trade if he went to the Lions. I think I hadn't thought about that till you said that. That would make a lot of sense. He actually, to me, the way he runs and his build is a lot like Kenyon Drake. So
a lot like Kerryon Johnson, you mean?
Sorry,
yeah.
Kerryon Johnson.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
Okay. Also, by the way, I skipped over this one. So Judah Buddha was right about streaming Brissett at QB last week. Nice call. Remember, I said smash that Brissett button.
Yeah, I think Thomas chimed in when you were gone. When was it? Was it Saturday? I don't know. But yeah, it was after you left early, and he said he was asking about. He said he was going to play. He was going to play Minshew over that, and I said, yeah. And so I kind of encouraged him on that. Although Minshew didn't do well. He didn't do bad. He had like 21, and Jacoby had, I don't know,
like 37.
Well, no, not. It was like high 20s, but
no.
I think in single in
half
point
in 4 point per touchdown.
Yeah, in 4 point touchdown. Yeah.
Oh, maybe it was high 20s then. But in the league that I played him, I got like a nice 30 burger. What was it in
27.64?
Yeah, see 27.
Which I mean, his number, his eyes are like his numbers pop. Like it's 326 and 4 touchdowns, but because the touchdowns are only 4, it doesn't give you that much. So.
I played a lot of 6 point per touchdown. Okay, so let's see what else. So Ryan is really struggling with Deshaun. He wants to let's go down really quick. He said he rank these guys: Kenyon, Rojo, AP. To me, that's the rank right there.
Same, yeah.
I mean, AP. He could. He's got a tough matchup next week, and he's an old man.
Well, I'll qualify it by saying that's the ranking in which I would want to have them on my roster. Like I'm putting Drake at the beginning because of the trade potential. If I had to play one of those, I guess I would go with Rojo because, maybe he lucks into being the guy for Tampa in that game. Whereas Kenyon Drake, as it is, I don't think he has much value in starting him.
Yep, that's a tough choice, but that would be my rankings too. Okay, so Thomas H says, now I see that Ryan Tannehill's streaming option this week. Yikes, that scares me. Would you trust Teddy B instead? That's a good question because Teddy B doesn't have a bad matchup.
Right.
Playing, although what's his name? Peterman is back playing for the
Patrick Peterson,
PP as they call him. PP's back. Would does that matter? Their defense did look a little better this week, but I mean, the Saints are probably in power rankings the number 1 team in the NFL right now. They are chugging
above the Patriots, though.
Oh well, I didn't think about the Patriots. Yeah. Number 2 team in
the top team in the NFC.
Yes, they're definitely the top team in the NFC. And granted, I think I would say that the Saints offense is doing better than the Patriots offense. They just don't have the kind of shutdown defense that the Patriots have.
Right. Well, and I mean, they're doing this with their backup quarterback too,
Yeah. So would Teddy Breakwater, like I like to call him, would he be, I thought he was terrible and I still do, but he's been serviceable. Let's be honest.
Yeah. That's a tough one because he gets the Saints at home, or I'm sorry, he gets the Cardinals at home. He played well against the Bears. I mean, he had almost 20 points against the Bears, 19 point something points. You don't know what the situation is going to be with Alvin Kamara. It may be Latavius again. They may let Kamara rest through the bye. It's really tough because they've had some defensive games at home where they beat the Cowboys 12-10, and then they were at Jacksonville and they beat Jacksonville 13-6. And so, they're sort of a little bit cautious with him about what they let him do. Whereas, Ryan Tannehill is just going to sling it. which may or may not work out well for you. Of course, and which I say that, but you know, at the same time, it could be, you know, it could be more of a Derrick Henry game too, against Tampa. But you figure Tampa's going to probably score enough points. What is your call on that? And then I'll figure out mine, Tannehill or Bridgewater.
You know what? I would go with Tannehill. I just think he's going to be he's got a better rhythm, and he's not as checked down as Teddy B. Now, I have a personal bias against Teddy B. I just find him to be an incredibly boring thrower, not incredibly accurate either. Now, Tannehill Tannehill just has more panache. He has a little bit more flash, and even when he was with Miami, I feel like he was a decent quarterback there, with a little bit of problems with his accuracy. I think he still was willing to take some shots and get the ball moving. And I think that's important. You know, throwing the ball well and throwing it a lot and throwing it far, I think is important for fantasy. Whereas Teddy B, get you somebody who loves himself, somebody as much as Teddy B loves Thompson, man, because that guy.
It's amazing that like we went from Breeze to Bridgewater, and somehow like Thomas's catches, I think, went up after that, you know?
Yeah. He loves him, dude. That's his main dude.
Right.
All right. So so who would you go to real quick? We got to keep going. We got time crunch here.
Yeah. Gosh, that is, I guess Tannehill. Yeah. I mean,
you just didn't want to, it just felt gross coming out of your mouth.
It does. It feels wrong. But you know, both of them, like Tampa is the 6th worst defense. The Cardinals are the 4th worst defense, you know, to the pass. So to me, that's just kind of a coin flip. I think Tannehill has more upside because I could see that turning into more of a shootout. So that's why I think Teddy probably gives you the safer floor, and Tannehill has the higher ceiling.
That's true. You guys mentioned last week how the Saints Bears game was probably going to be a low scoring game. Now, I messaged you and said, look, the Bears are not that great of a defense back up here.
Although it was pretty tight for a while. And then the fact that the Bears it was the Bears offense couldn't stay on the field. And so that defense just wore down. I lost a game because because of that Latavius Murray last touchdown where they just they made no effort to try to stop him. You know? Oh man,
I was all over Latavius Murray, except in the game where I got beat by AJ, and now I got to play him in 2 more leagues this week. Okay, enough with my leagues. Let's talk. By the way, 2 visions, getting right to you. Eric Courier's in the chat. Eric Courier, also a great fantasy football player. Let's go to. Got a couple more by Thomas H. He says, do you like, we covered this a little bit. Do you like Chase Edmonds with his tough schedule? I still like him. I would say running back 2. He's not going to get you those. Wait, he had like 27 points, 30 points.
Oh, as an RB2. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, what do you mean?
It sounded like for a second, like as running back 2, you meant like the second overall, like as a
second tier running back. He's gonna. I think he is good for the touches, especially if you're in a PPR league. He's gonna get some catches. What do you think?
I mean, I think so, but now the Cardinals have me paranoid about like what's going to happen with David Johnson week to week. Like, does it turn out that we're just fooling you again? David Johnson's now actually super healthy, and we're going to run him. So that would give me a little pause.
But don't you think them taking on what's his name?
Yeah, the guy that they signed, and I don't remember who it was, but maybe it's like just the long con by Cliff Kingsbury, you know.
Alfred Morris, though.
Alfred Morris, that's who it was. Yeah,
he's a decent backup, you know, to Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
for a while there. It could be the long con. I don't know. I think it's telling that he left the field. It's weird. All right, but that is something to consider.
It is something to consider, but I think Johnson's injuries are probably legitimate. So,
okay, Stream Hawkinson, Graham, or Ebron. That's tough. I think I'd probably go. I probably go Ebron.
I think I would too. I mean, Hawkinson is starting to get more involved in the offense, but he's still not really turning in a lot right now. The Giants are pretty good against tight ends. He hasn't cracked. He hasn't gone over 32 yards since week 1 when he had 131 yards. Jimmy Graham is boom or bust when it comes to tight end. I mean, a lot of days he just looks like an old man, and he doesn't catch a ball that Rodgers is leading him a little bit, and he just can't get out there to it.
He tries to do too many of these hot dog one-handers. Get out of here with that. Get out of here with that.
He tries to do these basketball catches. And so, I would go Ebron, I guess.
Maybe Hawkinson, but definitely Ebron. They're on a roll. Now they have, okay. So let's keep going. We got, let's see. So Two Vision, thanks for joining us, Two Visions. I hope you're still in the chat, still watching. Would you play OBJ, the ODB of NFL, against the Patriots this week?
Oh, nope.
I would.
Would you?
I would. I think this is the week the Patriots break. I'm going to say that right now. I think they break this week.
I think they're at home against Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be what breaks them.
And no, well, I don't think they're going to lose, but I think they're not. I'm talking particularly about their defense. I don't think their defense is going to get this like 37 freaking points like they've been doing.
I don't know. Like, if I was the Patriots, or as someone who owns the Patriots defense in multiple leagues, like, I'm feeling super confident about them going up against Baker Mayfield.
Okay, well, similar question for me. What do you think? I'm a Chubb owner in almost every league. What do you think about Chubb? I think he's skilled enough to overcome OBJ. He's gonna need Mayfield to be on point, but
well, he's gonna draw Gilmore too, and Gilmore, like, we talk about the corners who aren't what they have been in years past or something like that, but Stephon Gilmore is just shutting people down, So
you would sit OBJ.
I am gonna sit OBJ.
You're sitting.
OBJ.
I am not. I think he has a huge game. Boom. That's our prediction.
To your thing about Chubb. I've got to make that call in a league. I don't have another great option, so I am going to start him, but I don't feel good about it. So
I'm feeling great. Eric Courier, man among men, says, surprised that we didn't mention Herndon with Darnold looking to rebound. That's a good point. I had kind of forgotten. I'll keep that up. I'd forgotten about Herndon. What do you think?
I mean, if you want to stash him, if you've got the luxury of stashing him, sure. But I mean, he hasn't played yet. He's still been hurt. Adam Gase was talking about, having to see where he is and having to work him back in. No way would I start him unless I was just super desperate.
You can't start him this week. He's still injured.
Well, I did, like I said, I don't know I hadn't looked to see what his status is, if he was, even going to practice for this week or what. But but even if he did, I would need a one game at least to see, like, okay, how much of a role is he going to have or what, So.
Mm-hmm. Often so there's something that's off about him for me. And if I really analyze it, anytime a player has been gone for a while and then gets hurt or re-aggravates an injury, or it takes longer than expected to come back, that's always a red flag for me. Yeah.
Dalvin Cook last year, came off of that ACL tear, came back, hurt his hamstring early on, and just never got going, so.
Yeah. And look, he's great now.
Yeah.
Eric Curry says, boom. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was something we were talking about earlier. But anyways, so Connor S. Guess what, Connor S. You're in luck. You are talking to another fellow 7-0 player, and it's not me.
That's my.
I have no teams. 7-0.
It's my only team that's still 7-0. I've got a handful that are 6-1, but our league is the only one where I'm still 7-0. Yeah,
I'm second place though.
You are second place. Yeah, I think we're gonna probably finish 1-2. Yeah, if you're 7-0, you've got the luxury of looking ahead, because basically sometimes 8 wins get you into the playoffs. 9 wins almost always gets you into the playoffs. So you're gonna go, even if you go 2-5, you're gonna make it in. Maybe if you go 1-6, you're gonna make it in. So you do have the luxury, and that is what I do. Like basically, like when I get to the point where I can start looking ahead to the fantasy playoffs, I'll start trying to pick up guys off the waiver wire or make trades based on matchups. For me especially, it's week 15, because if you're playing a Yahoo Public League money league, you triple your buy-in if you win your week 15 game. So that's what I always aim to do, is get to the playoffs, win that week 15 game. If I go on and win the championship, great. That's an extra, you basically can quintuple, whatever the expression is, or whatever the word is. I don't know if I'm adding an unnecessary R in there. Quintuplets. Quintuple. Yeah. Okay. There you go. So you can add more to it, but if you don't win your week 15 game, then the best you can hope for is to win the consolation game and get your money back. And that just feels like such a waste of time. So my winning percentage in week 15 is like 74%, because I always build my teams to win that week. Now, then in the championship, it's only like 50-50, but so yeah, that's what you got to do. As soon you don't want to do it too soon, because you don't want to look like an idiot if you suddenly choke and don't let your team doesn't make it in. But at 7-0, maybe even at 6-1, you can feel pretty good about making it.
Yeah. The only thing I would warn is against tinkering too much as you look ahead and overthinking yourself, getting too cute with those matchups. Be wise about it. Like, of course, nobody. Okay, I shouldn't say this because it'll probably turn around, but nobody thinks that Miami is going to be a good defense to play. Going to be a good defense against NFL teams, right? That's going to be an easy one to. But there are some defenses that you want to be careful about, like they're a shutdown defense, and all of a sudden they lose 2 of their main defensive players. It could really change. I don't think much could change to make Miami a good defense.
Well, or like the Colts. The Colts are a good example from last year, where they started out, their defense wasn't that great. Over the last several weeks of the season, they were the top defense in the NFL. And so, like the Saints, and so the Colts started out the season, their defense didn't look like, it was going to be that great. And then they've played really well against the Chiefs and the Texans. Yeah. And so, maybe at the start of the season, you're like, oh, I've got the Saints, they got the Colts coming in on week 15, but teams, if they're well-coached teams, like you always see the Patriots get better as the season goes along, which I don't know how they're going to get better on the defensive side, but well-coached teams will get better as the season goes along. So, yeah.
Also look for strong strong offensive lines with a lot of depth.
Yeah.
All right. So Keenan Allen. So Connor S says he's got Keenan Allen, Rivers, Kamara for Gurley. Who wins? All right. Keenan Allen, Rivers, Kamara for Gurley, OBJ, Wentz, and D.D. Westbrook.
Ooh. Yeah.
I'd have to say the Kamara side.
I guess it depends on what your other, maybe what I'd love to see what the rosters were before and after. I would say the Kamara side too, because you're getting the 2, at least 2 of the 3 best players in that deal.
Yeah, Keenan Allen he's got a lot of positive regression coming his way. He's been targeted so much with I think he only has like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Or less. He's got some touchdowns coming.
Yeah. On that other side, like, I mean, Gurley, Gurley's got a safe floor. He's getting you, double-digit points every week because of touchdowns, not because of yards. OBJ, his schedule is just rough. His schedule is just rough the rest of the way, and
the rest of the way. They have they have a string of at least 2 or 3 easy games in there.
They do, but I mean, 2 or 3 out of the next 7 regular season fantasy games. I mean, that's overall rough. Wentz, he's got a tough little stretch here before it gets really easy late in the season. And Dede, I mean, he's coming back and getting some, he's kind of getting to where we thought he would be at the start of the season when he just disappeared. But yeah, I still got to go. I would go, the Keenan Kamara side. Although, if you're rolling with Rivers every week, I hope Rivers is not your starting quarterback every week, because otherwise you're going to have some tough weeks with him.
Yeah, I'd still rather have Keenan Allen and Kamara. I mean, you can drop Rivers. I don't know. I mean, Rivers.
Maybe. I mean, we don't know what what league he's in, but yeah.
That's a good question. So Eric Courier says, what's the structure for the aforementioned
right
Trey? I'd like to know that too. Like, is it PPR? That would make a big difference. Okay. Two Visions has another question. Starting DJ Chark, Goodwin, looking to flex Deontay Johnson, Marvin Jones, OBJ, or Corey Davis. Corey Davis is interesting. You mentioned him was he in your...
he was my number 3 waiver.
Number 3.
Yeah. That's a really interesting one, because you've got the best player who has by far the worst matchup, and then you have probably the least, the least effective player out of all that with the best matchup, Deontay Johnson with the Dolphins, and then you've got Marvin Jones who gets the Giants, and you've got Corey Davis who gets the Bucks. So it's almost like you're building RPG characters, and you can give this one like an easy schedule, but not as much talent, and this one gets like all the talent but a tough opponent, and then the other two are somewhere in between. Golly, that may be the hardest question that I think I've gotten since we've been doing this.
Well, if I were to rank them, I'd go OBJ, Johnson, Marvin Jones, Corey Davis. Don't shy away from. Okay, my take is don't shy away from OBJ. They've had a bye to get right, to get straight, to work on things, get healthy. Their offensive line to get straight. I think OBJ is going to smash. I already said that before. That's my hot take is they're going to get back on track this week, but that's just a hot take. Take it for what it's worth. You think otherwise. Marvin Jones, I don't think that this is going to continue. His big, he does this every year, He
does. Yeah.
He's like 2 games where he just goes off and then kind of goes back into obscurity.
He does. Yeah. You can't trust it at all. Yeah, gosh, I don't even know exactly how to rank these guys. I would actually, though, Marvin Jones, even though he is this way, like the Giants are basically they're a top 10 pass defense. Or I'm sorry, not a top 10 pass defense, but they're a bottom 10. They're a top 10 in favor of your receiver. Mm-hmm. 3 of the last 4 weeks, he's had 75 yards or more. He's not going to blow up for 4 touchdowns. But with it being the Giants, man, I'm almost inclined to kind of put him at the top. And then I'm not sure how all those others are going to shake out. Really, for me, I'm benching OBJ. So I think I would have Marvin at the top, and then OBJ would be at the bottom for me. Corey Davis and Deontay Johnson, flip a coin as to what order you want to put those in between.
Yeah. He says he never sits OBJ, but worried against the Patriots. Yeah. I honestly, that's a good worry. All right, well, that does it. Unless we have any more questions, I want to ask you one last thing is who – so I'm looking ahead at the bye weeks, and week 9 is Binado. Week 8 and week 9 are 2 Binados where we got Arizona, Green Bay, Jacksonville, Los Angeles Rams, New York Giants, and Tennessee off on week 8. And then week 9 is Chicago, Cleveland, Los Angeles Chargers, Minnesota, New England, and Pittsburgh. I'm actually more worried about week 8 for people because there's more. That's a good deal of fantasy players. You know, like people you probably depend on. Well, so we're looking at Jacksonville. So this would be a lot of wide receivers and running backs. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be losing their running backs this coming up week. So looking at the waiver wire between those two weeks, those 2 Binados coming up, what would you do for quarterback? Because you got a lot of quarterbacks going out those two weeks. And
now, did you say that it was weeks 8 and 9 or 9 and 10? Weeks
8 and 9. 10 is bad too. Particularly because it's like Baltimore, which has, a lot of good players, Oakland and Philadelphia. But I don't know. I think it's mainly bad for me because I have a lot of Lamar Jackson. So week 8, I think that's a tough one.
Well, this is we're at week 8. So
I'm sorry. Yeah. So week 8 and week 9. So for the that's right. We're in week 8. Yeah. So for the waiver wire to get ahead of the waiver wire for week 9.
Yeah.
So Chicago, you're losing some wide receivers. That's about all. Defense, maybe. Yeah. A lot of people got that defense. Cleveland. I mean, you're probably losing wide receiver. You're losing your quarterback.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, wait. I'm looking at this is no, this is the wrong one. That's 2019. Let's look at 2000.
No, this is 2019.
Yeah, no, I was looking at 2018, I think. Oh. Yeah. Let's see, 2019.
Yeah, you were saying like the Browns. I was
no. I was like, something's off. So week 10 is pretty big. Denver Broncos, Houston Texans, Jacksonville, New England, similar to what we said before. Yeah. Philadelphia and Washington. And then so week 9 is the Falcons, Cincinnati Bengals, Los Angeles Rams, like we said, and the Saints.
Yeah.
So looking at wide receivers mostly wide receivers.
Okay. Well, I mean, you look at I think you look at in terms of some of those passing games, the Colts are going to get the Dolphins. So if there are, Zach Pascal is going to be a guy that's probably going to get added in some leagues. But it's kind of tough to know. The Colts also are going to have Devin Funchess coming back at some point. Is that
going to make a big difference, you think?
I mean, he was going to be their number 2 wide receiver before he got hurt. So I don't know what that timetable is like right now. I don't know if he'll be back by then, or even if he is, if he'll, really where he'll be at. But if not, then, Pascal might be an option now that the Colts, are kind of starting to get their passing game going a little bit more. I don't know. I mean, just being a couple of weeks out on that. I don't know if there's really anybody else that's going to be available that we haven't already kind of talked about for week 8 right now. I think some of that would just have to kind of be wait and see. Some of that stuff I can project out a week ahead a little bit better. So sometimes I'll
I think some of our honorable mentions, like Devontae Parker, Zach Pascal, Dorsett. We didn't talk about Dorsett.
Philip Dorsett. Yeah. Well, the thing is now, how does Sanu affect him? So you're going to have Edelman starting. You're going to have Sanu probably in there. How does that affect things for Josh Gordon, who already wasn't doing much? Philip Dorsett, and then Jacoby Myers, who, Jacoby Myers has been, catching some balls for him. So we'll just have to see. And it's not going to be like an immediate answer too, because, Sanu will probably be kind of slowly worked in, kind of through the Patriots bye. So, if you already have Philip Dorsett, you're probably safe for another week or so. But beyond that, I hope you're not depending on him, but in a deeper league, because I don't know what his role is going to look like post Sanu.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just want to make sure so we get this right. So the Baltimore Ravens, Dallas Cowboys are on by this week. So for me, that's my main two quarterbacks, Dak and Lamar.
Yeah.
So next week is going to be Atlanta Falcons, Cincinnati Bengals, Los Angeles Rams, and the New Orleans Saints. Oh yeah. So Courier says Bears already had the right. Yes. All right. I was looking at the wrong gear. Stupid Judah. All right. Connor asks one last question before we go. Sorry, guys. If I did that trade, my RBs would be Barkley, Kamara, Damian Williams, drop him. And wide receivers would be Goodwin, Keenan, Amari, Curtis Samuel, Diggs. So I guess I do the trade. Depends on what your record is, because this is a strong record, I think, going into later in the season. But now remember, Kamara might not play for who knows how long.
Well, I think they've got the bye next week, so he might be out till week 10. Yeah. That does affect things. Like if you don't have Latavius,
you won't have Amari this week.
Yeah, right.
Or Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
Now Diggs might be somebody who's going to go off.
He could.
With Thielen being a little banged up.
Yep. That's kind of a. I'm just going back through who he had in that trade. He was trading.
I'll go back to it.
So, yeah, but I mean, like I said, I don't know. I just don't
like it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't know in terms of like OBJ. Like I would have no trouble giving up really OBJ or Wentz or Dede. So really, I mean, for me, it would just be kind of like about Gurley, and you're getting Keenan and Kamara in return. I think that's worth it.
I think it's solid. Good job. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Sorry for the mix up at the end here about the buys. Make sure you know who is on buy coming up. Don't get stuck. And I think it's good to look at it ahead of time. Go through and look who is going to be out and who you're going to need in the following weeks.
Yeah.
And start picking up according to that, not according to who you think is the best necessarily, but who you're going to need. You may need a quarterback this week. That's me. I totally forgot to go through and pick up a couple spots, and I'm like, oh, I'll just use Dak. Nope.
I can probably trade you a guy for
I'm sure
an arm and a leg.
All right, guys. Well, hope you do well on the waiver wires tonight. Don't be afraid to be bold and always be zen about fantasy football, because there's very little control. What is it you normally say at the end?
What do I say at the end? I think I do say something. Good luck on the waiver wire. That's all I say.
That's lame.
I'm sorry. What's yours?
It's even lamer. All right. Well, have a good night. And we will see you guys on Saturday. Don't forget, if you felt like we helped you, or if you just feel pity for us, give us a like on YouTube. Give us a subscribe. It'll make us feel a modicum of happiness. And who doesn't want to do that? Oh, and the other thing is, don't forget, of all the things you want to do,